Tony Stewart Sprint Car Racing is a niche within a niche within a niche. Inside the world of racing, you have sim racing. Inside that, you have various different disciplines. And this one focuses on dirt oval racing. I picked this up very recently, although the game came out last year, and that's because it's had a permanent price reduction across all platforms. So I thought it's now less of a risk to buy in. And I'm glad that I did, because actually Tony Stewart Sprint Car Racing, whilst being on the arcade side of simcade, is very much an enjoyable experience so long as you know what you're getting yourself into going in. There's 3 different tiers of racing series in the game, from midgets up to the winged sprint cars, and each one has a power step increase so that you then have to play much more with the throttle instead of just flooring it and swinging left all of the time. There's 24 dirt tracks. Almost all of them are ovals, but very similar to how when you speak with a NASCAR fan, they'll be able to tell you the distinctions between the subtle nuances between each of the ovals. And by that I don't mean this is a half mile, this is a super speedway. I mean about gradients of corners and things like that. It does actually play a bit of a part in Tony Stewart's game. And not just that as well, so does the terrain, because some of them are a bit more claggy than others, and so you'll have more or less grip depending on what's going on. What the game doesn't quite do nearly as well as, say, the Moto XGP games that Milestone bring out recently, is that kind of land deformation, so that you don't quite get like the tracks in the road appearing so that you get a proper groove on. But that's because actually when you look at the terrain, it's not designed necessarily to be doing that nearly as much. What is fun though is going on to the racing series and battling it out against Tony Stewart as you rise your way through the career mode. He's with you at the front of the field, battling away for victories every step of the way, and he'll have the most upgraded car. And what you'll be doing throughout career mode is going around the races, depending on the difficulty that you choose. You'll be winning or coming midfield or at the bottom, because your car requires upgrades. You'll be grinding for cash to get those upgrades, and then to buy and get into the future class upgrades as you go along. It isn't a deep career mode, but I do like the fact that you are able to have sponsors with objectives for you to then try and clear to get extra cash so that you can then buy new cars and upgrade your equipment as you go. The fun with all of this is that each race only takes a couple of minutes depending on how you skew the race length. So you can actually chop out through career mode quite quickly if you want to, or you can have quite an in-depth experience. And I like this kind of sliding scale that you can have with that. There's quite a lot of different options that you can play around with as well that help out with the handling and to make it more arcadey than what it actually starts out being. I wouldn't say that this is a simulation game of sorts. It's pitched perfectly in the handling level where you do require skill and challenge to get round and do stuff and stay on the track and battle, particularly when you're going to smash into someone, because you'll always end up worse off. But it's kind of pitched at that right level where it's easy to pick up and understand as well. And that's because the handling was responsive. So long as you, particularly on the winged sprint cars, can feather the throttle a little bit around some of the corners, you will be drifting around the corners quite happily, and it sticks to the road rather than it kind of having a breakaway point and you just going round and round and round. Outside of that, there is also an online multiplayer mode. Now, in theory, you can have up to 25 players playing online together in a single race. I've never seen numbers that big. I have had 5 or 6 people playing in one race all at once, and the game ran absolutely smoothly. You can open your own lobbies, invite people in, set your own length of race and the ovals that you want to go racing on, and off and away you go. There's also weekly tournaments that go on as well, where you can beat or basically race for the best overall race time on that specific tournament for that week, and then you get placed onto a leaderboard. It's all just for pure personal glory and honour. There is a kind of online ranking system, but I didn't really see too much being put into it, apart from the fact that you can browse that leaderboard when you enter the online section. Also really nice to see, split screen is here too, so you can have 2-player split screen if you want. Now, with this review being a year out of date, essentially, because this game came out early 2020, what was interesting is that in September 2020, Tony Stewart's All-American Racing came out too. Taking very much a milestone approach to gaming, it seems, does Tony Stewart, or what his brand goes to anyway. This feels like a lift and drop of all of the track assets from this game, but instead of it being with sprint car racing, it's with stock cars instead. The games look the same. I don't think they'll feel identical, but they'll be very close to it. So my final kind of parting shot for you, not having played All American Racing, is think about which type of car you would like before you plunge. And also, I think just be aware that if that's the kind of business model that they're going to do, actually this would have been a fantastic game to just stick all 6 cars in together and release it as a pack collectively. Instead, this feels like we've been given 66% of a game separated over 2, and that's not necessarily good value for the end customer. So a written review will be over on highplanegames.com. I did enjoy myself with it. It punched above its weight. Just be aware that this is a super niche experience inside a niche already, and it's only going to scratch the itch of people who are looking for that type of dirt oval sprint car racing with an arcadey feel to it. Bear that in mind. Hope the review was informative. If it was, give it a like and consider subscribing for more off-the-wall, strange and weird games that you may never have known existed. Bye-bye. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.